Please, listen up. Create distance from your trigger.
Sugar makes you dumb.
Food is not the problem. Your discipline is.
Struggles with overeating and you're like, I want to be skinny. I've never been skinny. I want to be skinny. This is what you need to stop snacking.
What if I told you you're not actually hungry? Your body just thinks you are.
Second habit was out of control.
And once you understand this, controlling your appetite, what you eat, and how much will be so much easier. Out of control cravings are not a willpower problem, it's biology, and it's biology dysregulated. And when your hunger hormones and your blood sugar are dysregulated, your body will literally drive you to eat more. So today, I'm going to explain why you are so hungry, what's happening inside of your body. I am going to give you my 4-step plan to get back in control of your hunger and your appetite. Part 1, the problem. Constant out of control hunger usually shows up like this. You eat, you're full, you don't want anything else. In fact, you literally tell yourself, that's it, I'm not eating anything more. And then 2 hours later, you're literally daydreaming about cookies and ice cream and pizza and pasta all over again. You snack when you're not physically hungry and you eat when you don't even want to be eating. And most people think, I just need more discipline. But hunger doesn't work like that. Hunger is innate, and hunger signals are tightly regulated by hormones like ghrelin, leptin, and GLP-1. Ghrelin increases hunger, leptin signals satiety, GLP-1 slows down digestion and keeps you fuller longer. And when these signals are out of balance, hormonal imbalance, your brain is tricked into thinking there's an energy deficit or there's not enough food, and this is what drives you to eat more and seek out more food. It's this weird paradox of having way too much body fat, literally being obese, but still being so hungry all the time. So what is actually happening inside of your body? When you eat a meal high in refined carbohydrates and low in protein or fat, meals like pasta, pastries,
white rice with butter and salt,
cookies, oatmeal, and even sourdough bread, you can expect a blood sugar spike. So you eat all this sugar with no fiber, no healthy fats, and no protein, and of course, blood sugar spikes. And as that blood sugar rises, insulin needs to be released to lower and control the blood sugar. The problem is, if you are chronically eating way too much sugar and you're having all of these insane blood sugar spikes, your body's gonna keep on needing to secrete more and more insulin to deal with the more and more blood sugar. So you're eating all of these carbohydrates, your body's digesting the carbohydrates into glucose, absorbing the glucose into your blood, and of course, blood sugar spikes. And the more sugar that's in your food and the greater the amount of processing, the quicker your body's going to absorb the sugar and the higher your blood sugar is going to spike. So now, if you have this massive amount of sugar in your blood, you need even more insulin to combat the rising blood sugar. And what insulin is going to do is it's going to put sugar into cells. Think of insulin as sugar goes in. Insulin pushes sugar into muscle cells, liver cells, and your fat cells too. And your fat cells, when they get a little hit of insulin, what they really love to do is start turning that sugar into fat and storing it as body fat. So now, as insulin is doing its job, doing what it's supposed to do and what you want it to do, clearing and moving sugar from your blood into cells, cells that need sugar and cells that are able to store sugar either as sugar or as fat, like your fat cells. If your blood sugar regulation is all messed up, you have insulin resistance, blood sugar dysregulation, blah, 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 any sort of problem going on here, what can happen is your insulin response can overshoot and it can end up putting too much sugar away. And then what happens in your blood is your blood sugar drops too low. When your blood sugar drops too low, your body kind of senses like an energy crisis. It kind of freaks out and thinks, where the frick did all my sugar go? Where did my energy go? And it starts to panic. It senses an energy deficit. And now at this point of low blood sugar, now you're going to start to crave high calorie foods. Now you're going to start thinking about the cookies and the pastry and the pasta and how good that white bread is going to taste. So insulin is not inherently bad. Blood sugar is not inherently bad either. It's when insulin and blood sugar become dysregulated, the highs become too high and the lows become too low. That's when we run into a problem. That's when hunger gets out of control, and that's when you start to notice your belly packing on the pounds. Another reason why your hunger might be tragically out of control is protein intake. Protein has a direct effect on your satiety hormones. Protein increases neuropeptide YY or PYY, which is kind of a funny name, but whatever, protein increases it. And what PYY does is it decreases food intake and slows gastrointestinal motility. Pretty much what that means is it slows down digestion, and if your digestion is slower, you're staying fuller longer. And if you're staying fuller longer, you're eating less, snacking less, and thinking about food less.
I am short, fat, proud of that, and so with all my might, my appetite.
Protein also increases GLP-1, and if you know what Ozempic, semaglutide, retatrutide, tirzepatide, all those tides are, then you're familiar with GLP-1, and you probably know that these GLP-1 medications are freaking insane for weight loss. Well, guess what? Protein helps increase natural levels of GLP-1 and regulate appetite. So if your protein intake is too low, you're gonna be more hungry. You're gonna be less satisfied, and you're also gonna be less nourished. Protein and animal-rich foods are an excellent source of B vitamins, B12, B6, B5, all the metabolic vitamins, as well as minerals like zinc, copper, iron, and selenium, which you need for detoxification. Now, leptin resistance, and this kind of speaks to the paradox of overweight and obese, but always hungry. Leptin is the hormone that tells your brain, we have enough energy, we don't need to eat more, we're full, and we have a lot of body fat, we're totally fine for energy. In fact, leptin is released by your fat cells when they sense they have sufficient amount of fat stored in them. This means that if you have good hormone health and healthy fat cells, your leptin signaling is going to be totally okay. But with unhealthy or sick fat cells and leptin resistance, leptin signaling, this fullness and satiety signaling, can get all messed up. Even though you're gaining weight and gaining body fat, and your fat cells are screaming at your brain is failing to register the signal. Your brain is leptin resistant, and you never get the signal of slow it down, stop eating, we have enough body fat, we have too much body fat, and you are unsatisfied and you stay very hungry. Leptin resistance is associated with chronic overeating, highly processed diets, poor sleep, and higher body fat levels. And leptin resistance in itself is a bit of a paradox, and it's also a vicious cycle. It's a paradox in that your fat cells are full of fat, but you're still hungry because your body thinks there's not enough energy. It's a vicious cycle in that fatter you get, the sicker your fat cells become, the more dysregulated your energy sensing system becomes. It gets worse, it gets out of control, and it's just not good. Next is low muscle mass and poor glucose control. Muscle is one of the primary sites of glucose disposal. If you have low muscle mass, glucose is removed from your blood less efficiently, blood sugar becomes more volatile, and your insulin response becomes less effective. Essentially, you just get this blood sugar dysregulation, which leads to more frequent spikes, crashes, and drives hunger. Poor meal structure is also a major problem. Frequent snacking all day long prevent your body from ever feeling full, satisfied, and properly nourished. This keeps ghrelin elevated, and remember, ghrelin is your hunger hormone. I like to think of ghrelin as the little hunger gremlin, always making you feel like you need to eat everything, and your satiety hormones end up all over the place. You end up staying in this constant state of low level hunger, never really satisfied and never really full either. So stop grazing like a bunny rabbit. You are not a bunny rabbit, you are a grown woman, and start making yourself well-structured meals like those in my ebook, Macro Bestie, with 59 recipes. If this is you, you're hungry all day long, you can't stop snacking, and no matter what you eat, you're never satisfied. This is my 4-step plan to get your hunger back under control and eat with more confidence and less confusion. Firstly, you need to start building balanced meals. Each meal should include protein, fiber, and healthy fat. Protein comes from high-quality animal foods, and these are also rich in minerals like zinc, iron, phosphorus, and B vitamins like vitamin B12, niacin, and B6. By the way, most of these B vitamins you do need for metabolic health, and if you have a healthy metabolism, probably gonna do a better job at burning fat and staying energized all throughout the day. Secondly, you need fiber for your gut health and to also lower and slow the absorption of sugar and fats. So fiber comes from complex carbs. These are foods like fruit, vegetables, whole grains, chickpeas, and cooked and cooled starches. Also need healthy fats, not saturated fat, healthy fats, and particularly fats like omega-3, EPA and DHA, omega-7s, and omega-9s. You can get omega-7s in macadamia nuts, omega-9s in olives, and omega-3s in cold water fatty fish. So you guys are gonna hate me for saying this, but you do need to eat sardines and salmon and mackerel and anchovies and herring if you want to get your fatty acid intake to the next freaking level of elite health, longevity, whatever you want to call it. Now, we do need some fat in our diet, but not too much, and we definitely don't need more saturated fat in our diet. If you're cooking with butter and ghee and tallow, thinking it's so good for your body, time to switch it up to olive oil, avocado oil, or even sesame oil. These are all way higher in these unsaturated fatty acids, omega-7s, 3s, and 9s, and basically empty of saturated fats, which we don't need more of. This combination of healthy fats, high quality quality protein and fiber is what forms the foundation of all of my recipes in Macro Bestie. And it is the perfect combination because it increases satiety, controls hunger, nourishes your body, and supports lean muscle mass. Secondly, and you guys probably knew this one was coming, but you do need to eat enough protein. Not too much, not too little, but a sufficient amount. I'll just share with you what I do personally. I aim for 20 to 40 grams of protein per meal, and I eat 3 meals per day. So at the low end, this means I'm getting 60 grams of protein per day, which never happens. And at the high end, 3 times 40, let me see my math, 120 grams of protein per day, which is usually where I end up falling. Now, how much protein should you be getting per day? 1.2 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. This is a huge range, but anywhere in here and you'll be good to go. Okay, girls, that was a good discussion about protein. Moving on to our final 2 points. Stabilize blood sugar and build muscle. Avoid meals that are high in sugar, low in protein, and low in fiber. These are a no-go. Avoid these foods at all costs. What are these foods? Pizza, pasta, ice cream, cookies. What's the opposite of these foods? Well, the recipes in Macro Bestie, of course. Stop eating things that are high in sugar, ultra processed, high in saturated fat, and low in protein. Start eating things that are rich in high quality protein, complex carbohydrates, and nutrient dense. Final point is to build muscle. Resistance training builds muscle. It increases your strength and it supports metabolic health. It also helps your body control and lower blood sugar. Even doing 3 sessions of resistance training per week can have a significant effect on your metabolic health and your body composition too. And if you compound the effect, you do 3 sessions every week and you do that for 3 months, you are going to see changes in your body composition, your metabolic health, your feelings of well-being, and your strength and your longevity. It's not just benefiting you now, but this is a long-term investment in your health. It's setting you up for healthy aging. Nobody wants to be 50 years old and being kind of chubby and not able to partake in activity. Take care of your health now. You might just be walking down the Sports Illustrated swimsuit model runway because who knows, you could just be such a smoking hot 80-year-old. Now, if you want to finally get back in control of what you eat and how much, subscribe to this channel, Nutrition by Elsa, and watch my next video here so you can learn more about metabolic health.